And after Elisabeth, we'll take a little break. Elisabeth, come on up.
I just want to say that one of the most wonderful things about being here today is the sense of community that we feel. And I couldn't have written this speech, without help from two of my really close celebrant friends, Dory Bless and Christina Collette, who I depend on frequently for support in these kinds of situations. And I encourage you, if you're not already best buds with your classmates that you went to school with, make a friend today. Because being a celebrant it's a lonely job sometimes, and you get these crazy ideas and you want to run them by another celebrant first. So I was uncomfortable with the role of being a celebrant when I first went to school to be one. I knew that I wanted to be one, but I didn't know how to go about it, and I had to go for special tutoring with Cindy Reed, who gave me the assignment of doing a collage about being a celebrant. And the collage that I made revealed that I saw being a celebrant as something solemn and intensely serious. And if you heard me laughing back there at anything, I'm not serious or solemn, so that was really hard for me. That totally self-imposed idea put a lot of pressure on me. I didn't see myself as having the capacity to do something humorless. And when I discovered how important humor can be, being human is also important. The humor in ceremony was a huge gift to me, and it changed how I felt about the whole thing. Suddenly, it made sense to me how I could bring my authentic self to being a celebrant. Finding the jokes where they are in the narrative of a ceremony feels like digging for gold to me. That's the best part for me. When I'm able to craft a good quality and genuine joke, it's an amazing feeling, let alone the feeling I get when I tell that joke and get a laugh at a wedding. That's priceless. Frank Pittman said, "The more things we can laugh about, the more alive we become. And the more things we can laugh about together, the more connected we become." Laughter allows for a connection through a common expression, and its spontaneity and its genuineness are intertwined. Shared laughter allows us to feel connected in a way that is unique. An inside joke makes us feel closer to the people we share it with. As Victor Borge said, and I hear he's really funny, but I never heard of him before I wrote this speech. Laughter is the shortest distance between two people. As a celebrant, when you can bring all the guests assembled at a ceremony a joke that feels like an inside joke to all of them, that's an amazing event. And humor can add meaning and depth to a ceremony. And the right joke in the context of a ceremony can help to create a sense of connection among all the guests and participants that is heartfelt, honest, and real. And I'd like to say that humor in the context of a funeral is really important, and that deserves its own speech, but I'm going to concentrate on weddings because that's the limit of my experience. Humor is a great addition to any wedding. Most of my couples met online, so I start out with this joke, which is my standard. I say, "David and Sandra met the old-fashioned way. On the internet." See, it's not that funny. But I always tell it because that kind of it's a callback for me. Celebrants, especially new celebrants like I once was, get very caught up in the seriousness of a wedding. And a wedding is a joyous occasion, and a little bit of laughter and levity can result in a priceless memory. You never really know when a joke or funny moment is going to reveal itself, so you should be open to it when it happens. Somebody told me earlier that the chuppah flew off when they did a wedding here. I mean, there's nothing funnier than that. I mean, to me, I don't know. A spontaneous event, like reminding the groom to look at the bride when he's saying his vows to her, instead of looking at you. They always do that. Like you're reading the vows and they're like, I promise, I always say, look at her, and that's funny to the people there. There are opportunities for humor everywhere. You don't have to make up the jokes and you don't have to work that hard to find them. The real humor in a wedding comes from the personal details and stories that the couple shares with you, and the more personal the detail, the funnier it will be. For example, Johnny finally decided that Rachel was the one to marry when she became a Dallas Cowboys fan. Or Janine fell in love with David when he made her dinner for the first time and there was bacon in the salad. See, this kind of joke gets a laugh. You don't know David and Janine, and you don't know Rachel and Johnny, so it's not that funny, but that gets a joke. It gets a big laugh because it's personal. It's funny because it's personal. And you're bringing everybody in that wedding, most of them know that girl loves bacon. She has bacon lip gloss in her purse, So some celebrants may find humor difficult to write because they fear what is funny to them may not go over well in the actual ceremony. I think I count myself among those people. You should feel free to put as many jokes into the ceremony as you like, and the couple will tell you when they send the draft back if you've crossed the line. You don't want to do that, though. That said, you are a celebrant, not a comedian, and a one-liner every paragraph is really going to be a problem unless the people you're marrying are the kind of people that you know for sure are going to enjoy that kind of thing. Remember that in the context of a ceremony, it's not about jokes. It's really about humor, and humor can be a lot more subtle and different from jokes. Make sure that you ask your clients directly in the questionnaire and at the interview what tone they want in their wedding. If they say traditional and solemn, I would stay away from humor. But if they say lighthearted, warm, then I would go for it. The most important thing is that the humor involved in a wedding should feel natural and truthful. If humor is forced, forget about it. It isn't going to work. The freshest and most interesting comedy is not based on jokes or one-liners. It's based on exposing a truth of some kind. Have you ever seen those people who are like, it's funny because it's true? That it is. In the words of Del Close, he worked with Chris Farley and John Belushi. A lot of dead guys worked with Del Close. He's dead too. But real humor doesn't come from sacrificing the reality of a moment to crack a cheap joke, but finding the joke in the reality of the moment. And simply put, honesty is the best policy. There is nothing funnier than the truth. Do not go too far over the line by being offensive or inappropriate. And know where that line is. This is a wedding, not a comedy club. If you have a raw sense of humor, you must always consider that when writing the jokes into a ceremony. Everything that is humorous in a wedding should lead back to what is personal for the couple. Your couple is your audience because they have final approval over what you say, and they might not think you're funny. I had a couple recently where the groom proposed to the bride in a walk-in closet. And they explained this to me at the interview, and I was like, how about Don asked Julie to marry him, and then they both came out of the closet. Now, granted, that's really not that funny. That's not the greatest joke I've ever written, but they didn't laugh at all. They didn't even crack a smile. So I was like, okay, they're not interested. And that's okay. And you should try out your humor in the interview because that gives you an idea of whether the people think you're congenial or funny. And I don't want to marry people who don't laugh. No, I'm just kidding. Now, couples need to be reminded that although a wedding can be stressful, humor can provide a badly needed pressure release. And anything that goes wrong within a wedding can be a hilarious story that they can tell for years to come, like that chuppah that blew off. Look, this kind of advice for the couple is at the interview and then again at the wedding can be very helpful. Just like Jerry Fierce just said, he said, children can do nothing wrong at a wedding. I mean, just reminding the couple that anything that goes wrong is going to be hilarious is really important, and you should always do that. I say so. And a lot of people are nervous, and you have to lighten the mood. I mean, I have a bunch of dumb jokes that I tell brides right before a wedding because they, when they look really shell-shocked, I always go like this. Knock, knock. Woo, woo-hoo. Okay, this is my stupid joke. So I find a lot of things funny. I laugh easily, but some people don't. There are some concrete things that you can do to add some humor to a ceremony script. The first thing that you want to do as a celebrant, because this is like rule number 1, it didn't come from Van Janet, but I'm pretty sure it came from Cindy or Charlotte, is to make sure a funny story from the couple's past is in their ceremony and relate it in a sweet way to their relationship. When I married one of the producers for the Howard Stern show, he had proposed to his fiance in July, but he decorated their house like Christmas with their Christmas tree, and he baked cookies. And I said that was funny because he's not a Christmas celebrator. Everybody knew what I was talking about, and they laughed because there were Jewish elements in the ceremony. Like Christmas isn't even his holiday. Not that funny again. The way that children feel about weddings, Jerry Fierce also said this, the way that children feel about weddings can also be humorous. If there are any children in the wedding, consider sharing how they feel about the couple. And when there are children of a certain age in a wedding, I have a special questionnaire that I give the parents to ask the children. And they, if the children are so young, the parents can transcribe their answers. But it helps to have that script to ask the right questions. And the stuff I get from these questionnaires, especially from younger children, is comedy gold to me. An example would be this wedding. There was a groom, and he was fairly stern. He worked in a law office. And the bride and groom, they were very buttoned up, but when they talked about the children, their hearts opened, and they just became so much more light. And there was this different part of themselves exposed. So I made sure to say that, Ilsa, Roberta, and Rose call Stefan Steffi at home. And that was funny because, at work, he's definitely not Steffi, And one of the children said, he always tells jokes, even ones that don't make sense to me. Like me today. No. So it's even better if the children are in a wedding to find a way to incorporate them. And in that wedding, all 3 little girls read a poem by Shel Silverstein, and they were just adorable. And, like little kids, the way they read, it's funny, Readings are another way to bring humor to a ceremony. Consider adding a humorous poem or reading. Many people default to May the Road Rise Up to Meet You, or the Apache Wedding Prayer. Again, not my choices to use Jerry Fierce's line. But you can use Dr. Seuss like he did, or Ogden Nash, Irma Bombeck, Dave Barry, Bill Bryson. Anything that is really personal to them and fits the situation is totally fair game. Vows can be another way to integrate humor into a ceremony. Again, Dr. Seuss, will you take her as your wife? Will you love her all your life? Will you have and also hold just as you have at this time told? You can, do rhyming vows. You can add an extra promise or two, like, I promise to make your favorite chocolate chip pancakes on Saturdays, or I promise to make sure we always have a 6-pack of Coors Light in the fridge at all times. Or as Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston promised to each other, they said, I vow to split the difference on the thermostat. See, these are not funny. I don't know. I thought they were funny at the computer, but, then there are these vows where, the husband says, I promise to, not leave the toilet seat down and replace the toilet paper, or the woman says, I'll drink beer with you when your team wins, or comfort you when they lose. I, George, take you, Sandra, to be my spouse at the racetrack or in line at the Dairy Queen, watching the World Series of Poker, or waiting for you while you get your hair done, as long as we both shall live. You can rework the traditional phrases. You can say, instead of "till death do us part," you can say, "live long and prosper," or "to infinity and beyond," or "by the power of Grayskull, I pronounce you man and wife." For all you nerds, that's a He-Man reference. Injecting humor into a wedding, it can be really good and it can create lasting memories. However, keep in mind that if you're going to do jokes and vows, they should be cleared ahead of time, no surprises. Remember that laughter and humor, however you integrate it into your weddings, can really bring joy to a wedding and create an atmosphere of love and warmth. And remember that laughter and humor is one way that you can make the role of celebrant substantially more fun for you. Thanks.